Raleigh, North Carolina has the fourth fastest growing large economy in the country. Now, I say over and over in my videos that the Triangle region of North Carolina is growing like crazy, but now I have some solid economic numbers to back it up. New data released by the U.S. Bureau of Economic Analysis, which produces some of the world's most closely watched statistics, including U.S. gross domestic product, or GDP, showed that Raleigh, North Carolina was the fourth fastest growing large economy in the entire country by GDP. And neighboring Durham Chapel Hill came in at number 14. So what makes the Raleigh-Durham economy so strong? Well, let's dive in. But before we do, my name is Matt Martin, and I'm a Raleigh-based realtor. I've helped tons of clients, just like you, relocate to the Triangle region of North Carolina. And if you're looking to do the same, I'd love to help you too. So economies are measured by gross domestic product, or GDP, which is the total market value of all final goods and services produced within a market. Nationwide, GDP grew by an average of 6.9% in 2023 before being adjusted for inflation, from $23.3 trillion in 2022 to nearly $25 trillion last year. Now, my brain can't even comprehend those numbers, so let's just focus on the 6.9% growth, as that's the benchmark for the nation. And Raleigh and Durham both blew that number out of the water, with Raleigh clocking an impressive 9.5% GDP growth from $122 billion to $133 billion, and Durham coming in at 8.4% from $65 billion in 2022 to just over $70 billion last year. And while the Bureau of Economic Analysis separates Raleigh and Durham into two separate metros, they really function as one economic unit. So combined, they grew 9.11%, making them the sixth fastest growing large economy out of the top 60 biggest economies in the country. Yes, even their combined GDP is less than the net worth of Elon Musk, but that's for another video. So let's dive into what's contributing to these massive GDP growths. And let's start with one of the biggest contributors, and that's huge investments into the Triangle region by some of the largest companies in the world, especially in the life sciences and tech sectors. And you can't talk about investment without mentioning Novo Nordisk, who most of us know better as the maker of the Hollywood weight loss wonder drug Ozempic. But this Danish company is actually one of the biggest companies in Europe, and they've recently committed to spending $4.1 billion to build a second fill and finishing manufacturing facility in Clayton, North Carolina, which is located about 25 minutes southeast of downtown Raleigh. This 1.4 million square foot expansion will double the combined square footage of all three of the company's already existing facilities in North Carolina. But more importantly, it'll add 1,000 new jobs in addition to the nearly 2,500 Novo Nordisk employees already working in the region. This announcement represents the largest life science investment ever in the state's history. And then, not far to the west, biopharma company Amgen has been making huge investments in Holly Springs' growing life sciences hub. In 2022, the company, which makes medicines that treat cancer, heart disease, osteoporosis, and inflammatory diseases, among others, started construction on its $500 million production plant that will employ over 350 people. And if that wasn't enough, just a few weeks ago, in late 2024, they announced another $1 billion+ investment to expand their manufacturing capabilities in the region, bringing with it another 370 jobs and a planned boost to the economy of over $3.5 billion across the next 12 years. But let's not forget about the Durham metro area, which includes neighboring Chatham County to the west. There, semiconductor manufacturer Wolfspeed is planning to build a $5 billion silicon carbide manufacturing plant to make the wafers used in advanced computer chips. This development will bring 1,800 jobs to the region and was recently bolstered by up to $750 million of federal funding through the CHIPS Act. This funding will make the Wolfspeed facility the largest of its kind in the United States. Another big contributor to the Triangle region's GDP growth was the financial and insurance sector. Now, when most people think of finance in North Carolina, they think of Charlotte, which is home to companies like Bank of America, Truist, and LendingTree. But while Charlotte's GDP in these categories is nearly triple that of the Triangle's, the finance and insurance sectors here still contributed over $14 billion to the Raleigh-Durham GDP and grew by a whopping 16.3%. That's driven by Raleigh being home to the global technology hub for insurance giant MetLife and home to First Citizens Bank, which set itself up as one of the most important banks in the country back in 2023 when it bought up the flailing Silicon Valley Bank. So while we aren't the finance behemoth that Charlotte is, these industries are vitally important to our economy here in the Triangle. Another contributor to the massive economic growth was the education and health services sectors, which accounted for over $18 billion of GDP last year and grew 12.6% year over year. Now, if you've watched my other videos, you'll know that the Triangle is known for our top-tier education and healthcare. So these numbers shouldn't surprise anyone. We have over 20 colleges and universities in the region, including 3 Tier 1 research institutes, UNC Chapel Hill, Duke, and NC State. And 2 of those, Duke and UNC, have major hospitals associated with them. According to US News and World Report, Duke is ranked in the top 50 hospitals nationally in 11 adult specialties, and their children's hospital was named the best in the Southeast, with UNC's not far behind at number 4. Now, another big contributor to the GDP growth is population growth, and one of the ways that's really presenting itself is in the construction sector. With 70 plus people moving to the Triangle every day, they all need places to live, roads to drive on, and offices to work in. And that means construction is booming. Last year, the construction industry contributed $9.3 billion to the region's total GDP and was up 14% year over year. It's funny, when people come here to visit for the first time, they usually comment on 2 things. 1, oh my God, there are so many trees and it's so beautiful. And 2, wow, there are a lot of cranes everywhere. And both are true. But that's actually one of my favorite things about living here, since it feels like I'm witnessing the creation of something. And it's been super fun watching new developments pop up over the last few years, from amazing new restaurants to brand new freeways to conversions of abandoned buildings into trendy hotspots. And speaking of new restaurants popping up, the final contributor to the Triangle's GDP gain that I want to touch on is the accommodations and food services sector. This accounted for nearly $5 billion of the region's total GDP and was up a whopping 16% year over year. Now, this shouldn't surprise anyone, as the number of new hotel and restaurant openings that we've experienced in just the last 4 years of living here has been almost dizzying. Now, you won't hear me complaining, as I'm a huge foodie and love how the region is transforming itself into a culinary hotspot. Actually, you can check out my whole video of my favorite restaurants in Raleigh right here. So I'm not surprised that the economic growth numbers are reflecting this trend. So those are just some of the reasons that the Raleigh-Durham region has one of the fastest growing large economies in the entire country. If you'd like to come check out what makes the Triangle region of North Carolina so great, or you're ready to kick off your home hunt here, I'd love to be your guide. You can reach me by phone, email, or text, and you can find all my contact information in the link below, or by scanning this QR code right here with your phone. And if you liked this video, I have a whole catalog of others all about moving to, living in, and buying real estate in and around Raleigh, North Carolina. Here's another one here that you may like, so give it a click to keep on watching.